X-ray machine, EKG machines, and virtual care if needed. No appointments are necessary. Mount Vernon City employees could begin seeing their COVID-19 hazard pay bonuses. Many of the workers will get $5,000 as a bonus for their continued work throughout the pandemic. The money comes from the federal fund set aside for municipalities and counties through the American Rescue Plan Act. And a man convicted for killing a woman and her daughter almost 40 years ago is now eligible to be released from prison. 56-year-old Paul Leon was sentenced by a judge who ruled that his youth upbringing was not adequately considered at the time of his first sentencing. Leon has been considered a model inmate at the Haven Correctional Facility.
So you gotta. When he calls in between break, I just need to talk to him. Go to commercial break. Yes, I was gonna let him know that I do have to leave. After the third segment to get to the graduation on time.
Okay. On your water bill, you'll notice a new name. Veolia. Suez is now Veolia. Your new water supplier. You'll now begin seeing Veolia trucks and service in the neighborhood. Working to me.
Yeah. I'm speaking. The graduation starts at 1. And it's all the way on the side of Mount Vernon. By the time I get there, it's going to be after it starts, which is fine. But they have me speaking, and I don't want to be too late to the program.
The radio station where many different voices are heard in the land. Opinions expressed in our community and open line programs are not necessarily those of the station management or sponsors. As always, privileged to amplify the voice of people here on Vox Populi, 1460 and worldwide at WVOX.com for you and yours.
Here we go.
Hello, New York. This is Bill O'Shaughnessy. There's always something happening right here at 1460 on New York's last independent community radio station. For you and yours. WVOX and WVOX.com.
1460. Tuned now for What Happened Here with Rich Thomas. Rich Thomas is the former mayor of Mount Vernon. And now, What Happened Here with Rich Thomas on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to WVOX at Whitney Global Media Station. And we're here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. on the show, on the topic, on the question, what happened here? And today's question is, what happened here with pride? What happened with tolerance? What happened with Stonewall? And our guest is Robert Keston, a Westchester native. He's the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives, a great testament and history of courage that we're going to jump into to talk about these questions of what happened with pride and tolerance, and how come, today, after so many years of Stonewall, of people standing up for themselves, wanting to be who they want to be, demonstrating such courage and bravery in the face of hate and attacks by our own government. We're going to talk about where we are today and where we need to get to make sure that we have more pride, more tolerance, and more progress. If you'd like to join the discussion, the phone number is 914-636-0110, 914-636-0110. And I know that on the line we have our guest, Robert. Robert, are you with us? I hear him. I know he's there. Robert, thank you for joining us, Robert. So glad to have you on the air on WVOX 1460 AM radio. We're also streaming worldwide on WVOX.com, as well as on Instagram Live and Facebook and YouTube on my Mayor Richard Thomas pages. So thank you, Robert, for joining us. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
And so happy to see that your work continues in advancing, the human condition. Last time I saw you, you were presenting at the United Nations, making sure that there's equity and safety as part of the Human Rights Commission. And just so proud to see that you're now named the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives. So can you just tell us a little bit about, who you are, the work you've been doing, and then a little bit about the organization?
I can do that. Years ago, I was the person who conceived of the United Nations Decade on Human Rights Education, which was approved unanimously by the General Assembly in 1994. It started in 1995 and ran to 2004, and we learned an awful lot about what was going on in the world of human rights on a global scale. And that organization continues its work, and we aim to have some kind of celebration on December 10th, 2023, which will be the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration.
Wow.
And Stonewall is one of the largest archives and libraries in the LGBTQ community, and it is based in Fort Lauderdale, but has a national footprint because it collects materials nationally from individuals, organizations, and institutions. And so we have a library that's around 28,000 plus volumes and 6 million plus items in the archives. So they are both of good size and both span the entire history of the community's life. So they're very interesting, and of course it does dovetail with the other work that I did in human rights, because it is a community that, unlike any other community, includes members from every other community. There is not one religion, not one nationality, not one color, not one size, not one economic model that doesn't have representation within the LGBTQ plus community. And truly, nobody else can say that. So if you're from Wyoming or if you're from Saudi Arabia, there's someone in your community that's represented in our community. If you're Catholic, Jewish, or Muslim, there's someone represented. If you're black or white or green, there's someone represented. And there's nowhere else where you can say that your sibling, your spouse, your child, your coworker, your neighbor is potentially a member of this community. And that's why human rights plays such an integral role, because when you threaten members of the LGBTQ community, you are opening the door to threatening other communities as well. It is the landing page for proving in an elected official how committed they are to human and civil rights.
Can you tell me a little bit about, how do you go about sharing and telling the history or the story? How do you go about doing that? Because there's, for those listening, those watching online, and those that may not be familiar with this rapper, this artist named Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer Prize for one of his albums. He's a prolific writer. And his latest album, he talks about the trauma of childhood and how he was exposed to one of his family members that became a transgender person. And he talked about how that representative in his family was shamed and shunned and attacked, and it was just so debilitating for him to watch growing up. And now he understands how important it is to address and recognize these issues and embrace them. So for especially people in the communities of color that don't often understand or embrace concepts of sexuality and self-expression, can you just talk about that representation in the role that your organization can play in educating people about, tolerance and taking pride in being, a human first?
Well, once again, this goes directly back to what are human rights. And human rights, the Universal Declaration, is all about belonging. And every single human being has their dignity respected when they feel that they belong in community. And when you shun people when you decide that they are not welcome, what you really do is open the door to people being prejudiced against you. Because if you allow yourself the right to dislike or hate because of who someone is, then they have the right to hate you back. And it's reminiscent to me. I was giving presentations in Egypt during the Arab Spring. And I was in Alexandria and talking about the Universal Declaration. And following my presentation, a woman asked if she could drive me back to my hotel. And she, her husband, and her son jumped into the car. And the first thing she said is, will my imam have to provide same-sex marriages? And I said, that was not part of our conversation. Where does that come from? She said, I need to know. Because if my imam will be forced to do that, then I'm not sure I can support human rights. And I looked at her and I said, first of all, no one is saying that human rights says you have to be friends with someone or invite them for dinner. No one is saying that you have to do anything other than acknowledge that human beings are human beings. But if you allow yourself the opportunity to hate someone or disrespect someone because of who they are, just simply because you don't like it, then you can't complain when people around the world say the same thing about Muslims. Because you've now opened that door. You have said that Muslims are intolerant, that women that follow Islam are intolerant. And so therefore, why should anybody respect you? And she paused and she thought, and at the end she said, I can support human rights. And I think that's what it's like in the communities of color as well. We get tied up in misunderstanding religion or misunderstanding cultural restraint. That gives us a certain freedom to allow our fears to run things rather than our hearts. And these are your family, these are your friends, these are your coworkers, these are your neighbors.
And these are...
If you don't like them, that's a problem.
Well, we're going to have a solution when we come back from break. Don't change that dial. Listen to What Happened Here on WVOX. Hey, man, this is a great conversation. I hope you all are picking up what Robert is putting down. It's a great, great, great discussion. And, hey, Gerald, can you bring Robert up on the line?
WVOX.
Absolutely, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks turned around and have been trading higher after a slump at the market open. Shares of
Robert on the line. Thank you, Gerald.
La-Z-Boy says it was seeing record business in.
Hey, Robert. All right, no problem. Hey, Robert. I don't know. Can you hear me? Oh, sorry. Oh, it's coming? Oh, no. Just another day in the office. How you guys doing out there online? Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Please share the link. Invite people to tap in. Ask your questions. Let me know what you want to, get into and unpack. I'm just going to try and grab Robert offline real quick before we come back from this commercial break. Oh, there you go. I hear you now. Can you hear me? All right, great. So, yeah, I have my volume down on my headphones. I didn't realize that. Sorry. So, Robert, I was invited to speak at the high school graduation today. It starts at 1. So, unfortunately, I have to end the show after the third segment. I really wanted to extend the conversation, and I know you made time for this, so I apologize for having to leave early, but I hope you understand it was a last minute request by the school district for me to participate. Thank you, and just know that I'd love to have you back on to talk again and to go into some of these issues, when you have time over the course of the summer, because I do think that, what you're getting into is is very important, especially with what's going on, or what happened in Florida, at least with the prohibition of education to young people. Oh, thank you.
And now back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon. You're listening to WVOX at Whitney Global Media Station, and we are here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. asking the question on the show, what happened here? And today's topic is what happened here with pride, tolerance, Stonewall. And on the line, our guest is Robert Keston, the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives. He is a Westchester native, someone that is an ardent global advocate for human rights. And before we went to break, we were talking about families shunning and misunderstanding, people that choose to identify differently, people that defy the visual expectations to become who they are and who they want to be. And if you want to call in and join the discussion or ask questions, the phone number is 914-636-0110. And Robert, before we went to break, you were telling us, about how problems are created, and the solution is more information, more education. Can you talk about the role education plays and the role your organization plays in advancing the foundation of human rights, so that people understand that it should be acknowledged as a human, not necessarily as an inhuman attack?
Right. Education is the key. But more than education, it's living by the golden rule, living by the definition of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that all people are born free and equal.
Mm.
And that for you to have your human rights respected, for you to have your dignity respected, you have to respect that of others. And the moment you decide that you're more important is the moment we start to have problems. The whole idea behind human rights is that each and every one of us needs to have their dignity respected, and that is what allows us to live in complex society, even with people we don't agree with.
Yeah.
The Universal Declaration was the outcome of the Second World War and the Holocaust, and was the world's response to how we can shape the future of the world through dignity. And it's been hidden. Most countries do not acknowledge the Universal Declaration. They don't know it. They find it. So when you're part of the LGBTQ plus community,
Mm-hmm.
you're ostracized even more, because the enemies of that community use fear and use ignorance as a way of attacking. And we see that all over the United States at this time. We see it in Russia. We see it in various parts of the world. But here in the United States, you've got people like the governor of Florida, who have passed the Don't Say Gay bill, who have passed the Don't Be Woke bill, is now going after, like the governor of Texas and other states, the anti-trans bill, and massive pieces of legislation that challenge who people are and who people believe themselves to be, because it makes them feel uncomfortable. And if you want to have red hair, or if you want to have blue hair, why should anybody be able to tell you that that's not okay? It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't challenge your personal dignity or your personal respect.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is allow someone else to feel whole. And that has to be a good thing. When you feel whole, when you feel welcome, when you feel that you belong in the community, you want that community to succeed. When you feel excluded, when you feel unwanted, that's what is part of the reason we have these shootings. It's part of the reason we have so much anti-social behavior. It's part of the reason that we have so many youth suicides. because people do not feel that they belong. And our system has to change and encourage people to feel comfortable in their own skin and know that they're not going to be ostracized because it makes somebody else a little bit uncomfortable without ever hurting them.
So
If you're
So I just want to tap in. There's one question that I want to ask, and then there's a caller that wants to tap in. Where does cancel culture fit in? Because there seems to be, like you pointed out, all the bills that are being passed on one side, there seems to be an equal and opposite reaction on the other side, where everybody just wants to cancel it out. And there seems to be, what's the platform? Is there a platform like Stonewall Museum where people can kind of meet in the middle and say, look, here's the foundation of human rights, and you may not like what you may be uncomfortable, but here are the facts, and I think is that kind of the role you see yourself and Stonewall playing, and trying to just be a platform so people can meet in the middle.
Well, I don't know about meeting in the middle, because that sort of says that there's a moral equivalence between hate and acceptance, and there isn't a moral equivalence between hate and acceptance.
So profound. Keep going.
Meeting in the middle means that I understand that I don't have to feel comfortable with it, but I have to acknowledge that that's how you feel. Then you can meet in the middle. Just like the people on the gay side have to acknowledge that those people are uncomfortable. But it's communication, it's talking, it's learning history.
Reconciliation.
It's possible for people to make those transitions.
Man, I love this. All right, caller, thank you for joining the discussion. I don't know, did we lose the caller?
Vince.
Hey, Vince, thank you for joining.
I'll wait till after the break if you don't mind.
Okay, we're here. So, Robert, you was okay. Thank you, Vince, for holding on. So we have, a great opportunity to have this, comfortable discussion, because a lot of people don't realize that, there are differences, and then the question becomes, how do we reconcile those differences, and how do we not ostracize, alienate, or disenfranchise people from being a part of a broader community? And that's where, you hear the voice of Robert Kessin, the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back from the break, we're going to have our first caller, Vince, who's going to, ask some questions and join the discussion. Don't change that dial. Listen to What Happened Here on WVOX. It's a big topic today, y'all. Right? Big topic. And Robert is brilliant. He's one of the most intelligent people I know, and schooled me on the moral equivalence aspect. And Gerald, I don't know, can you bring Robert back up so I can just talk to him real quick? All right, thank you, Gerald. Hey, Robert. Hey, man. Thanks for schooling me on that moral equivalence part. I had, that goes to show you how you're reaching and teaching everybody, including me. So I'm gonna do my best to try and put structure around Vince's question or comment, and I'm gonna see if there's a way, there may be a way for me to if the discussion gets really elevated. Do you have time to stay? I'll do what I have to do to get to the graduation and explain and apologize if I have to. I just want to make sure there's room for it in case it becomes an explosive conversation. I don't want to end it. I think it's important to finish it and make time for this, because it is an important issue to unpack. All right. Thank you.
At New York Presbyterian, our cancer care experts take a holistic approach in treating not just the cancer, but its effects on the whole body. Come get a first or second opinion from the hospital with some of the nation's top doctors. Stay amazing. New York Presbyterian Lawrence Hospital.
Move better, feel better, be better with advanced personalized care from Specialty Orthopedics. If you have pain or stiffness in any of your bones or joints and are looking for a solution close to home, call the specialists at Specialty Orthopedics in Harrison, New York. Their physicians are all fellowship trained and specialize in a specific area of orthopedics and are affiliated with major medical centers in the New York area. They not only teach other physicians, but are the destinations for other doctors and healthcare professionals when they need care. Dr. Zelikoff, Dr. Dar, Dr. Protier, Dr. Nikchi, and Dr. Littlejohn are available to provide you with the state-of-the-art care you deserve in a compassionate setting. Most insurances are accepted. Move better, feel better, be better with care from Specialty Orthopedics in Harrison. Reach them at 914-686-0111, 914-686-0111, or online at www.specialtyorthony.com.
Manhattan Beer Distributors is Westchester County's leading beverage distributor, serving all types of businesses like fine restaurants, bars, grocery stores, and supermarkets in New York City, Long Island, and upstate New York with the highest quality beverage products.
I'm going to ask Robert about God's opinion. So hang that. Don't leave. I want you to hear what he has to say about that.
New York City ING Marathon. Manhattan Beer Distributors also,
and he was talking about how he traveled the world and was in Egypt and wound up changing the heart and mind of someone and helped them reconcile, a conflict between their religious beliefs and their personal human beliefs. So it's a hard topic, but as you can see, we're gonna discuss this.
I
think
1-800-233-7462.
Vince is a variable. I don't know what Vince is going to talk about, and I don't want to just leave everybody hanging. So I'm leaning towards staying just so that he and Vince can finish.
For cutting edge.
So you can stay the whole hour because he programs the music.
He did. Okay. Tell him I'm more than likely going to stay because I think Vince is going to open up something, and I'll just bolt out of here.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Weekends on WPOX and anytime at drhoffman.com.
Now with your latest up-to-date forecast, here's Steve Pellettieri's Eye on Weather on 1460 WVOX.
Forecast Westchester County in the vicinity for today. We'll see overcast skies, chance of showers to the afternoon. The highs will climb to around 65. Showers likely this evening, especially through the overnight, the lows falling back to the middle 60s. Chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm Thursday afternoon. Mostly cloudy with temperatures climbing into the lower 70s. Some patchy fog early Friday, then mostly sunny in the afternoon, highs lower 80s. Sunshine upper 80s on Saturday. Looks good for Sunday, mostly sunny upper 80s. We'll see Pellettieri, June 14, 1460 WVOX, the Whitney Global Media Station.
We have ways of making you talk. How'd you come to that conclusion? WVOX Worldwide. 1460
Here we go.
Back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, on 1460 WVOX.
Welcome back. You're listening to WVOX at Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, former mayor of Mount Vernon, and our show is called What Happened Here? And the question that we are asking is what happened with pride, tolerance, Stonewall, understanding. And our guest today is Robert Kessin, the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives. We were talking about human rights before we went to a commercial break. We were talking about tolerance and pride, and we got a caller that called in. We're going to bring him in a moment, but we have a comment online. We just want to ask, and Robert, I want you to just receive the question or the comment from online viewer that asks about what about God's opinion and how do you reconcile God's opinion that has not changed about same-sex relationships, and quoted Bible, Romans chapter 1, verse 24 to 32. So that's a comment we got from online. Wanted to put that to you. Don't need to respond to that right now, but I do want to bring in our caller, Vince. Vince, thanks for joining What Happened Here.
Hi, how you doing, Mayor?
Never a dull moment. Thank you.
Well, you see, I leave religion out of my concern. I just focus more on genetics, biology, and evolution. And here's a couple of my concerns. I think most fair-minded human beings would like to try to offer a semblance of acknowledgement and respect to all members of our society, no matter how they're so situated.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, your guest oversteps the mark. And this creates trouble for people who try to be reasonably accepting.
Mm-hmm.
When he mentions that the governor of Florida is, going out of his way with the so-called "Don't Say Gay," which does not exist, by the way. There is no bill by that name. It's been characterized as that. It basically says we don't want to have discussions about sexuality with very young children up to third grade. Now, your guest will say, well, if a child mentions his sexuality, look, some of this becomes a rather irrational discussion. I don't know if you get how he reacts to the International Swimming Federation, basically saying they will not allow people who say they are women to compete in women's swimming events unless they can show they've transgendered or whatever, transformed prior to the age of 12. But if you're going to ask people like me
Mm-hmm.
to accept the idea that a boy can say he's a girl and vice versa, contrary to genetics, science, and biology, then I'm out. Then I'm out of that discussion. It makes no sense. It's basically trying to perpetrate a fraud on society. And to what end? Because people have their own dysphobia or dysfunctional sexual identity issues. I feel sorry for that issue. Just as I feel, unfortunately, we have folks who have dilemmas that are related to a genetic situation or whatever else, but, and dare I use the word, normal.
Mm-hmm.
Is there such a thing anymore within the human scope of a biological existence to say what falls within the normal stream of Homo sapien existence on planet Earth? I'm not saying you got to be nasty and mean to people, but it seems like your last guest says, unless I acknowledge and say, yes, this is just part of normal life, which it is not, then there is something wrong with me.
So before you go on, I want to invite Robert to weigh in a bit and put some structure around the conversation, because this is part of the opportunity to have a dialogue like this on WVOX, which is a platform for real discussions, and I know that a lot of people have views on the left and the right, or wrong and right, and this is a great opportunity to kind of achieve that discussion point, that understanding that we were talking about leading into the segment. Robert?
Well, your guest is correct. There is no bill that says don't say gay, but it also does not talk about talking about the sexuality of children. It's about if a child talks about their two moms or their two dads, that is a conversation that they're no longer allowed to have in school. And just 2 weeks ago, a county in Florida sent us all their books from elementary school that pertain in any way to same-sex anything, including a book on the two penguins that liked each other that had to be removed from bookshelves in the schools, classrooms, and in the libraries. So this goes far beyond talking about the students and how they identify, which is not really part of the legislation at all, because most kids that are in K to 3 don't even think about their orientation. But it is about the families that they live in, and that can't be discussed. Yet, it can be discussed if you have a mother and father. So it is a clear violation of human rights. Whether you want to believe that it's a violation of human rights, if everybody is born free and equal, then it is a violation. If it is a violation of the intent of the Declaration of Independence, where we have inalienable rights, including the right to happiness, it is a violation. So,
Well,
I know that part.
I understand that you see it that way, but I believe you're not correct.
I believe that you're not correct. So we have
I
a
understand.
mutual agreement
Right.
to disagree. But
Well, that's
the
true.
matter is when a government decides that it can tell us, anybody, how, what if the DeSantis legislation said you cannot discuss Catholicism in this public school? You can't say that you're a Catholic. You can't say that you go to a Catholic church because this is a Protestant country. Then you would see it differently, wouldn't you?
Well, unfortunately, that analogy is misplaced because that does not fall within the discussion of what you're trying to prove as a point. The fact of the matter is that when you look at these questions of what constitutes humanity and what constitutes a good public service of a well-rounded education in the public school, you get into the questions, of course, of, well, what does that mean in terms of what is a public school obliged to teach? Okay?
This is about socialization and getting very young children to feel comfortable in their community.
I'm talking about
None of this is
that's their parents' job. That's their parents' job. It's the parents' job to help the child feel comfortable in his community.
I will tell you that every child that is in social services, every child that is taken away from his parents, are the parents the ones that we're supposed to rely on to ensure a healthy, well-rounded child.
Well, I understand, but that's a different discussion.
As you can hear, we're going to keep the discussion going after this commercial break. Don't change that dial. Listen to WVOX, Whitney Global Media Station. Mitch is on the line? Okay. Can you bring up Robert? Thanks. Now, just tell Vince thank you. We have another caller, and yep. Thank you guys for joining. Heavy discussion, important discussion. Hey, Robert. Hey, man. Just I'm not. We have one more caller. I'm not sure if. Okay, I just want to make sure you know that Mitch is another caller. He may have a similar view to Vince. He doesn't. Okay, I don't know. So then that's why I said may. But we're bringing on Mitch, and we're gonna have a conversation with Mitch, and then we'll close out the show. Like I said, this is an important topic, and I'm gonna make sure that we finish it on this show, and then I'd love to have you back to kind of have a better discussion to pick up where we leave off. Thank you so much, Robert.
Well before the war in Ukraine.
Got it. Thank you for schooling me, Gerald. Ah! I got it.
Top of the latest news and information from Fox News. Listen and download the Fox News Hourly Update on your time. The trending stories you need anytime you want it. Listen and download now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. Get all of your favorite Fox News podcasts commercial-free on Apple Podcasts with Fox News Podcasts Plus. From Dana Perino, Kennedy, Ben Domenech, The Duffys, and many more. Subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. from the Fox News Podcasts Network.
What are the most important issues facing Americans today? Every Tuesday, join me, Brett Baer, chief political anchor and executive editor of Special Report, and my rotating all-star panel of experts as we discuss the policies, practices, and possible solutions to the biggest and most important issues. You can hear new episodes every Tuesday. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts.
Hi, my name is Jen Graziano, and I'd like to take a moment to tell you about one of my family's funeral homes, Zion Memorial Chapel. Zion Memorial Chapel is Westchester County's only independently owned, exclusive Jewish funeral home, and that makes all the difference to the families we serve. Our directors represent a team of compassionate, dignified professionals that work one-on-one with you to plan the final tribute to your loved one.
Do I have 1 minute to run to the restroom?
Yeah, go.
All right, thanks. I'll be right back.
Area Jewish funeral homes. Zion stands alone and is dedicated solely to those of the Jewish faith. Whether you are looking to pre-plan and discuss the many options available to you, or if a death has occurred, Zion Memorial Chapel is the trusted name for Westchester's Jewish community in their hour of need. Visit us on the web at www.zionchapel.com to learn more about us, or call us at 914-381-1809. Our licensed funeral directors are on hand 7 days a week to meet one-on-one with you and walk you through every step of the process. We are Zion Memorial Chapel, a trusted name in Westchester County's Jewish community.
Have questions about Medicare? Ask Medicare Mark. Tune in to WVOX AM 1460 as licensed agent Mark Brownstein hosts his monthly segment, Medicare Mark on the Air, covering a wide range of insights. Medicare Mark offers high value for anyone seeking practical and reliable information, guidance on all things Medicare. You don't want to miss it. Hear from your local Medicare specialist at 12:30 p.m. on the second Monday of each month, right here on AM 1460 WVOX Radio.
VOX. From Westchester, and now, all over the world. 1460
We're back.
Back to What Happened Here with Rich Thomas,
Sean, man, we got
mayor
Bill, buddy.
of Mount Vernon, on
We got
1460
Bill for Sean. I'm
WVOX.
gonna hit you up. I'm getting back on Clubhouse. I had to take a break. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to WVOX at Whitney Global Media Station. My name is Rich Thomas, the former mayor of Mount Vernon, and the name of our show is What Happened Here, where we ask the question of what happened here. And today's topic, our question is, what happened with pride? What happened with tolerance? What happened with Stonewall? And our guest is the executive director of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives, Robert Keston, a Westchester native. You're listening to 1460 on your AM dial or worldwide at WVOX. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube on Mayor Rich Thomas and Instagram at Rich W. Thomas. We have two callers on the line. First, we're going to go with Mitch. Mitch, thank you for joining.
Hey, how are you? It's Mitchell.
Thank you, Mitchell.
First, just let me say again, that was the greatest example I've ever heard to explain what's going on in Florida, about using religion instead of whether someone's gay or not. I think that really proves the point, and I commend them.
Thank you.
I just want to say to him, after I had spoken to Dennis earlier, I called up just to explain, because Dennis had no idea. It was just, it's not right, and what Stonewall was, what that, the history of what that is, and so forth. So it proves, I think, the point that we may have gone a long way, but we still have a long way to go. Let me just preface, before I say anything, that I am a white male heterosexual. And as far as I know, the most important history is white male heterosexuals who have determined what is normal and what is not. Which I guess, since I am one, works in my favor. But doesn't mean that we're right. And doesn't mean that normal could be many, many different things. Growing up, I was raised by my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Normal back then was for parents to raise you. But my mom died and my parents were divorced, so my grandparents raised me. What I would say to people today, what's normal is could be two moms, could be two dads, it could be one parent, an aunt, many, many different things. The only thing to me that's important when children are being raised is that they receive a lot of love, care, and nurturing. And whoever could provide that is an excellent parent. Whatever that parent may or may not decide to be. And again, what's normal? I don't know. What's normal is what's normal to you. And, I know people who were born one sex feel very strongly that there was another sex. As far as I'm concerned, that's normal. And they have every right to feel that way. And it's not for me to tell them you're wrong or that that's normal, because it's not. But I appreciate, the suggestion, what you're doing, I think it's important to continue to bring this across and educate people, because it's only through education that I think we ultimately learn tolerance. Because non-tolerant people, I firmly believe, are such because they lack the knowledge of other people and are afraid because they don't understand. So it's important for people like you to educate us, to bring tolerance to us, to make us understand other people, and that what other people believe is normal for them, as what I believe is normal for me is normal for me. And I just want to thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mitch. And Robert, you want to respond?
It's nice to know that there are people out there that understand that everybody is different and there's nothing wrong with being different, and that we can accept people for who they are without trying to find all the rules in the world to make them outsiders rather than belonging. So thank you, Mitchell. Have a good day, guys.
You got it. Thank you, Mitchell. And we have another caller. Chris, thank you for joining What Happened Here. What Happened with Pride. You're talking with Rich Thomas, and you have Robert Kesson from the Stonewall National Museum and Archives on the line.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, hi. I want to start off by saying that there's nothing necessarily wrong with abnormality. Like if I'm a left-handed person, I'm abnormal, but there's nothing wrong with abnormality. The question, the dilemma or whatever that we face is, how far do you go to make what's abnormal normal? Are there limitations to what we should do? Should we make normal people feel abnormal to benefit abnormal? It's a very difficult social issue. Certainly, if I had a child that was sexually disorientated and went to public school, okay, I certainly would not want that child to feel, in any way, challenged or whatever.
Bullied or something, right.
Or bullied or anything like that, because when I grew up, the bullying for sexual was enormous, But anyway, I'm just saying this is a challenge that humanity faces. It's a struggle, okay? And we should do the best that we can to get to the point that we need to be understanding of each other.
Thank you, Chris. And Robert, that's a great, point to kind of tee up the final lap of the show. And if you want to respond to Chris, I know he may still be on the line. He may have dropped off, but I just want to say, Robert, you want to respond to that observation?
First, want to say there's nothing abnormal about people being left-handed at one point. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're here. We just you gotta drop that line, Gerald. Thank you. So we're still here. You're saying there was nothing abnormal with being left-handed? Oh, we may have lost Robert. Oh no, Robert, I think you're still there. Oh no, Robert, if you're still there, call back in. If not, don't you worry yourself. As Robert was saying, we are.
Can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Go for it. Sorry.
There's not, at one time, people with red hair were considered abnormal.
Mm-hmm.
So what is normal and what is not normal changes with the wind. There is very little, women that work, women that vote. That was all abnormal. Women that, are the breadwinners in a family. Abnormal. So what was normal 100 years ago is not normal today. The fact that we can cure certain diseases that were considered death sentences, like cancer, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, that we can do that now. That was considered impossible, that it was something that we would never be able to do. So I think that we have to get over ourselves and the fact that the only thing that is constant in our lives is change. And we have to flow with change, because no matter how we try to stay still, the world is going to change around us. And we have to adapt to change, we have to understand change, and we have to be a part of the change, especially when it's positive. And the more people that feel that they belong in society, the more people that are welcomed into society, the better off we are, because what everybody wants, and that is the core belief in human rights, is that people want to belong. And when they don't belong, that's when we start to have these massive, massive problems. So when somebody says somebody is abnormal, they are not abnormal. They are not abnormal. That's how they were born. That's how they are. And that has to be good enough, because they're a human being just like you are.
Man, you sat me back in my chair on that change observation, and being normal is normal, no matter if it's abnormal or not. It's who you are, and that's where the history of courage and Stonewall, your role as the executive director, comes in. Can you tell people where to find you online and how to contact you if they wanted to get some information, or schedule some kind of learning session for them and their group?
Sure, it's stonewall-museum.org, and that's stonewall-museum.org, or 954-763-8565.
Well, thank you, Robert, for joining us and making the time. This has been a great show, a great conversation. This is why we do What Happened here on WVOX. Thank you all for joining. We'll be back next week with a special treat. I'll tell you online next time. Take care and have a great weekend.